kind of catch our breath. But if you're not aware of the Royal Oak Civic Foundation and all the great work it is doing, will do, and will continue to do, I challenge you to look it up. It's a remarkable story. It's Royal Oak's foundation that we can take contributions from charitable organizations, companies, all of that stuff, and it's put back into the community and really makes that very direct, impactful difference in people's lives. And so if you get a chance, you're at an airport, your flight's delayed or something like that, and you want to get on the Google, take a look and read all about it. It's a good thing. All right, so it's my honor to call to order the Monday, December 16, 2024 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to begin with an invocation given by Commissioner Herzog, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that you stand if you can, please.
This is a special time of year where we come together to celebrate the joys of the season, while acknowledging that there may be some chaos along the way. It is also an opportunity to pause and reflect on the past year, considering who we have been and what we want to do this coming year to improve. Our contribution to the world is our light. Each individual possesses a unique light that can dispel darkness. By nurturing each other's light, we transform small sparks into a powerful flame capable of illuminating the challenges the world faces. Every one of us is important. Hope is essential, belief in the future is crucial, and understanding that our actions can create a significant impact is vital. We must rise, seek joy, and be the reason others believe in the inherent goodness of humanity each day. Royal Oak has much to celebrate this year. Despite the obstacles we've encountered, failure, loss, sadness, and disappointment, we did not succumb to despair. It is the collective effort of each individual that elevates Royal Oak from a mere city to a vibrant community. Let us celebrate our achievements, learn from our missteps, and find joy in one another as we move into the new year. Wishing you a holiday season filled with joy and looking forward to continued success in 2025. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. That brings us to item number 4 tonight, which is the approval of the agenda. Does anyone wish to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Commissioner Cheatham, motion to approve? Okay, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo? All right, any discussion on the agenda for tonight? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. We have an agenda. All right, number 5, presentation of Main Street America 2024 accreditation. Mr. Solomon, Mr. Bry of Main Street, Oakland County. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. So for the past 6-7 years, we've been consistently affiliated with Main Street America. We have Main Street Select community level, which means we're the top level community we can be in our accreditation. We're meeting all of our points in the 4 points that follow Main Street America, so design, organization, economic vitality, and promotion. These are all things that we incorporate in our day-to-day in the DDA. So just ultimately trying to, I don't like to use the word revitalize, but continue to transform downtown to be an economically viable place that small businesses choose to locate, visitors continue to come to, and folks continue to choose to call it home when they want to live in a downtown. Joining me is from Main Street, Oakland County, John Bry, who is our community liaison.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am the Royal Oak Community Liaison, like Daniel mentioned, but I'm also the program coordinator for Main Street, Oakland County, entering my 9th year at the county. I've actually been working with Main Street for 30 years all across the country of communities of various sizes, and it's an honor to be in this role, as Oakland County is the only countywide and first countywide coordinating Main Street program in the United States, and we will be celebrating our 25th anniversary in 2025. The program has grown to include a network of Main Street communities across the county, the number 28, including pretty much all of Royal Oak's neighbors, but we will be growing to 29 in 2025. Thrilled this year that your sister Main Street program, Farmington, was named one of the Great American Main Street semifinalists this year. So we're excited about that. And we're excited to have Royal Oak participating with us at the select level, and there's going to be more conversations this coming year that we want to push the envelope a little bit more with what we call Next Gen, to look at very advanced and matured Main Street programs like Rochester, Ferndale, Royal Oak, and Farmington, to explore how we may go forward with you all as advanced downtown programs and looking at challenges and opportunities on how to continue to adapt the Main Street approach along those lines. The perks that come with being a Main Street Oakland County community are pretty good, including the most recent one that totals $311,000 of county ARPA funds that were designated for 15 Main Street communities to assist in public placemaking efforts, and some of the funding's coming Royal Oak's way for the Plaza project, as well as the technical assistance and other funding that we provide to the Main Street programs. So I'm here tonight. We like to come out to the local council meetings and present the accreditation standards that Royal Oak has passed since returning to the Main Street program now for the past several years. And we'll be doing it all again in 2025. We visit the community and do a check-in with local leaders and Daniel and board members to just see how things are going and how we can continue to assist you in your journey with downtown. So without further ado, it's my privilege to present upon Royal Oak. It's 2024. You're our last accreditation presentation for the year. For 2024 in meeting or excelling in the Main Street accreditation standards. You join about 1,200 other Main Street communities across the United States and about 12 Main Street communities in Oakland County. So congratulations.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Bryan.
You're welcome. There you go. And this is with the photo op moment.
Yep.
I like to take a photo with the council and Daniel, and we'll call it a day.
Come on down. Oh, leave that out. Come on. This picture lasts too long.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I didn't even notice that in the lobby.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say aging 10.
I have an aging everything. Where's the center? All right. We make important decisions on behalf of the people that run
Just a little bit. All right. And I cannot see back up. There we go.
You have to get in the lens of
All
line.
right. Now you can see it. All right, here we go. Everybody look at me. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. It's the hard work of a lot of ECA members, retailers, restaurants, businesses in the downtown, and of course all of our, resident and visitor input too. So it's always a journey, right? The world around us is constantly changing. We have to figure out ways to trim our sails, and no more important in Royal Oak than our downtown. Trim those sails and make sure we're always heading in the right direction. So thank you, and with a lot of good help from the county. I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Congratulations, everyone.
All right, that brings us to item 6 tonight, which is public comment. Just a few things about public comment before we commence. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to help make decisions. Now's the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any city-related topic, whether or not it's on the agenda or not. I ask that comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. If you wish to speak tonight at public comment, please wait until you're recognized by me, the mayor, and come up to the podium. For the record, we do ask that you state your name and address. Please be mindful that we wish to hear from anyone who wants to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, not per topic. And we have a convenient timer at the podium to help you keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, please don't hesitate to email us or find other ways to get us your comments or questions ahead of the meeting. It's usually more helpful if we have some time to think about it and do our own research if you bring up a very provocative point. Please note the City Commission typically doesn't respond to public comment. However, we are taking notes, and when the topic is discussed, we will ask those questions on your behalf, or if your questions or concerns aren't anything related to what's on the agenda tonight, please make sure that you leave your contact information with, here she is, coming in, the wonderful, amazing Judy Davids, and she usually can help facilitate and get the answers you're looking for, or at least the answers to your question, maybe not the answers you're looking for, but the right answers that will help answer your question. And of course, Mr. Wallenweber, our interim city manager, is also taking notes and takes back things as well. So with that, who's first tonight? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners, other city leaders. My name is Mark Navin. I live at 309 South Maple Avenue. I'm here to speak on behalf of my neighbors. I presented the city clerk a letter that I hope was able to be distributed to you. So the request for tonight is that you consider directing the city attorney and other relevant city leaders to conduct an investigation of the property and other structures at 718 West 4th Street, which we believe would lead to determination the property ought to be demolished. The property is unsafe. It is not secured. It is a public nuisance, an attractive nuisance. It fails to meet the most basic property maintenance requirements under our city ordinances. I'm aware that the last time I stood up here was to speak against the property owner's request for special permissions so they could redevelop the property. So I wouldn't blame you if you thought, hey, Mark, you wouldn't be in this situation if you hadn't made such trouble before. Who knows, maybe even I've changed my mind about such a thing. I would want to suggest to you, though, that regardless how you think about the owner's previous requests for renovations, it's not the neighbor's fault that the owners have gutted the property to the studs without first getting permission for their redevelopment plans. It's not our fault that they've failed to secure the property. It's not our fault that children and adults have been seen coming in and out of the property, carrying debris. It's not our fault there's standing water. It's not our fault the masonry is crumbling and the wood is rotting. These owners have a public responsibility. They are not living up to it. I ask the city to look into how to hold them to account. Thank you very much for fulfilling your responsibilities and for your service to our city. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
You know, that's one of the 4 properties where, or 5, we're going for demolition.
All right. Mark, in the back. Oh, come on.
I know, getting old. Getting there.
You're 39 years old?
Just barely.
Okay.
Mark Sackett, General Manager, Royal Oak Leprechauns. It is baseball season, as I see you're all dressed for it, right? 2024 Capital Improvement Plan on page 123, $200,000 budgeted for new barrier netting at Memorial Park. I had a discussion earlier this week with Mr. Filipski. He had got an engineering firm, was hired to verify the netting requirements on Field 3. And this new netting is only, as it turned out, the new netting is only to replace the existing netting and add additional netting in areas that had nothing to protect the spectators. People come to Leprechaun games, they were getting hit for the last 4 years. They were off to the side, they were getting hit by foul balls and ground balls and such. And the reason they were getting hit because they weren't sitting right behind the fencing, because they couldn't see through it. The chain link fence there and the bars and the poles, there's so many of them. It's really tough to see all the activities, whether it be the game or whether it be the people participating in contest. So they end up moving and then they end up getting hit. Memorial Park Field number 3 is completely different than any ball field you have in Royal Oak. It is, of course, the home of the Leprechauns, but more importantly, it is a field that is used primarily for viewing purposes, for people to come to watch what's going on. In my discussions with Mr. Filipski, I have shared that I have had a couple of donors very interested in coming in and partnering with the city for $1 million or for at least $250,000 to replace those grandstands. They're not interested in replacing those grandstands if we have a chain link fencing a backstop that's very difficult to see through. One thing I would like to do with you right here is I'm going to approach you all here, and I'll pass this. I'll give these here. These are, can I just got some here? You can set them down. That is a couple samples of the existing Memorial Park chain link fence backstop, as well as the other parks in the league. And you can see the complete difference is what we're up against when it comes to trying to provide a quality surface and a quality viewingship for our people. As a team that participates in Northwoods League, we're the largest summer collegiate baseball league in the world, and we're competing with at least 13 teams that have ballparks that are shown in these pictures. We are by far way behind the field amenities. These pictures show Memorial Park Field number 3 versus the other parks in the viewing capability. My statement to you is these facilities, they need to be done, the upgrades need to be done correctly. You've hired one engineering firm to take a look and not a sports facility to diagnose the barrier netting problems. When I initially talked to some people about this from the city, they said, oh, get 3 quotes. Well, now the city's only getting one engineering firm. I think we need to see some sports facility people do some quotes or get some plans for what that backstop would look like. So I want you to please reconsider allowing the Band-Aid for Memorial Park number 3. We need to get it done correctly for the benefit of the residents and visitors at Memorial Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sackett. Okay. Ms. Wagman.
Not discussing age, I'm meandering up here.
I didn't hear you grunt when you got up, so I assume.
Oh, he grunted? Okay,
Why
no, I
don't you
didn't
give
grunt.
Mr. Sackett.
I did it quietly. First, I want to thank Mr. Wallenweber for his service while he was here. I think he did a remarkable job, and I appreciate especially him listening to one of the suggestions I made and trying to get it through. So thank you very much. Regarding consent agenda, the consent agenda item to add a communication director position, during the interview process, our new city manager was advised the city of Royal Oak is projecting general fund expenditures to exceed revenue for the foreseeable future, and the unassigned fund balance has been on the decline despite an increase in our taxes, which is why I was surprised to see his first request was to make this request for an additional position. A little history for the new city manager, if he's listening, as well as the newer city commissioners. We've added 66 new positions over the last 10 years. That's over 21% to our staff. The outside consultant cited as a cost savings basis for this proposal was the first and only full-time consultant that I'm aware of that we ever hired. That contract ended months ago, saving the general fund from more expenses. Also, the last budget meeting strongly advocated for cutting, not increasing expenses. A fun fact, I was told the communications director of the Michigan House of Representatives salary is only $105,000. That's for the state. The time for you to consider adding a position, not a new one-time contract, is during the budget discussions when the needs, not wants, of the city manager and other departments can be assessed. Not a consent item on a December meeting agenda. I strongly request you wait for a few months until then, when hopefully decisions will be made that will avoid another millage increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wagman. All right. Anybody else wish to speak tonight at public comment? Going once. Going twice. All right, we're going to close public comment and bring the meeting back to this side of the table. All right, that brings us to item 7, the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything off the consent agenda? Okay, does anyone wish to make a motion on the consent agenda?
I move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there a second? A second by Commissioner Herzog. All right. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. All right. This gets us to number 8, which is the rezoning of 723 North Main Street to Plan Unit Development, first reading. Mr. Twing.
Mr. Hedges.
Oh, Mr. Hedges is coming in tonight. Look at, he's coming in like the man. He's like, yeah, I'm here.
All right.
We got to...
He had to put his coat.
We got to get some walk-up music from Mr. Hedges. I mean, this was a perfect moment. He's like coming in like the boss. He's like, yeah. Man, missed opportunity. What is it?
Yeah.
All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. All right, Doug, or Mr. Hedges, sorry.
Before you this evening is the first reading on the proposed rezoning of 723 North Main Street from neighborhood business to planned unit development. The petitioner is proposing the planned unit development to allow the construction of a new 4-story building with 24 multiple family dwellings. They are requesting the PUD because in the current neighborhood business zoning, only buildings with upper level dwellings above a commercial use on the ground level are allowed. Buildings with strictly residential uses are not permitted in that zoning district. I will leave the details of the specific project for the petitioner and their representatives. But if approved tonight, this development would come back before you for a second reading, which would include the planned unit development agreement. Within that agreement, there would be 5 separate deviations from required zoning ordinance standards that the petitioners are seeking. One of those is to not have the commercial use on the ground level. Another is related to corner vision clearance setbacks at the intersection of Austin Avenue and North Main Street. Third is the building height. The maximum permitted height in neighborhood business zoning is 36 feet. They are proposing a building with a total height of 48 feet. They are also seeking a deviation for the minimum required landscaped area. The minimum requirement is 10%. They are proposing approximately 7.5%. And then finally, they're seeking a waiver of the minimum required number of off-street parking spaces with 48 units. 2 per dwelling would be required, which would be a total of 48 spaces. They're proposing 29 spaces, which would be 1.21 per dwelling. Again, I'll leave any of the more specifics about the development, such as the actual building itself for the petitioner, but if the City Commission has any questions on the procedure of the zoning ordinance standards, I'd be happy to answer those this evening.
Questions for Mr. Hedges? Okay. The petitioner wants to come and give the rundown. That would be great.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners. Dennis Cowan with Plunkett Cooney on behalf of the petitioner, BNF Royal Oak Investments, LLC. And with me this evening are Ralph and Mike Bianchi, who are the members of BNF Royal Oak Investments. They are also the owners of the Bianchi Salon, which is currently on the site, and also Jason Krieger of Krieger and Klatt, here based in Royal Oak, who's done the design and the architectural work. So first of all, on behalf of the team, we want to wish you Merry Christmas. We apologize for not being in lighted costumes or some bright Christmas sweaters, because I have some really ugly ones, which I'll remember to wear next year. And also, we too want to join in thanking Mark Mullenweber for his service. And on a personal note, I've known Mark for a long time, and I was so glad he was able to come here and share his wisdom and his experience with you and get us all through this period as we await our new city manager. So thank you very much. We're very pleased to be here this evening with the proposal for 24 units. They're 1 and 2 bedroom multifamily building at the current Bianchi Salon property. The good news is Bianchi Salons is staying in Royal Oak. Now, what precipitated this change in the property use was the fact that they have grown in their business. You might remember when they first opened, they had a nail salon with an independent tenant who was on the south end of the building. They eventually asked that tenant to leave because they needed the space for more chairs and for their clientele. Well, it's even gotten better for them, and they sought a new site, and it should come at no surprise that they want to stay in Royal Oak. They want to go to a premier location, which is in the new Jonah building at the northeast corner of 11 Mile and Main on the street level. So that is good for their customers, that is good for their employees. They're actually going to be able to expand the business, both square footage and a number of chairs that they're going to have. So the good news, I want to, since we're a good news night, we want to let all the customers of Bianchi Salon know they're going to stay here. They'll be moving sometime, next year, and then be able to replace the current facility with what we believe is an outstanding building in an excellent location. So when we talk about that location, first of all, there'll be a buffer to the neighborhood to the west, which will be the Midwest Ordinance Building. We did try to acquire, or they did try to acquire that property, but weren't able to do so. And then also, this location's within walking distance of many city stores and services, including right across the street, Hollywood Market, so our tenants won't have far to go for their groceries. Also, we're across the street, just to mention in terms of context, from a 4-story building, apartment building, that was built in 1940 and does not have any parking, but from our questioning and also from the Bianchis being there, this has coexisted peaceably for 84 years with the residential neighborhood on that side of Main Street. So we did have a neighborhood meeting the Thursday before the Planning Commission meeting. We had about 20 residents show up. We were very pleased that a lot of them came. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've done this for a long time, and this was probably one of the top 5 most constructive meetings we ever had with a group. They were very thoughtful. They all agreed, we all agreed with them, that this will cut down on traffic because the Bianchi Salon, as I've mentioned, is successful and busy, and this will cut down tremendously on the traffic to and from that building as it currently operates. They also expressed some concerns about the current construction going on to the north, and that led our Bianchi team to make the pledge that we will work very, very diligently along with the city in terms of staging that hopefully will be able to happen off of Main Street so they don't have to block Austin, which has caused a lot of problems from time to time. Austin is not blocked, but if you go over there and with the construction equipment and everything that's going on, it causes some difficulties. They were also concerned about there being permit parking for the tenants, and we checked with the planning department. That's not allowed. You have to have a house on the street in order to seek a permit parking. They did express a little concern, some of the neighbors right to the immediate west, about the height of the building and that people could look down on their backyard. So what we agreed to do was, currently on the back side where the recessed balconies are, where it shows clear glass, we will put in either heavy mesh or an opaque fencing, so to speak, to block that off from people, sitting there and looking down. So, whether you have windows or a recessed balcony, people can potentially do that. I have never heard of that happening in all the years I've been doing this, somebody using balconies to spy on people. But we took it seriously and we made that suggestion and we committed to that before the Planning Commission. We did receive a 6-to-1 vote at the Planning Commission. We're very pleased about that. And at this time, I'm going to hand over the baton since I'm batting leadoff. I got no walk-up music. I'm going to have to think about that. And I'm going to let Jason come up without walk-up music and talk about the project.
Good evening, Jason Krieger with Krieger-Clad Architects, 400 East Lincoln, Suite A. Thanks for having us tonight. This is a very exciting project for us. We think it's a great use. It's a great buffer between Main Street and the residents. And I'm going to walk you through a brief presentation that we put together. Does everybody see the same screen they're seeing up there? Okay. Next slide, please. So this is the area. I think everybody's familiar with it. We have Austin and Main Street. That's the existing site. Hollywood Market's right across the street. And there's the dentist and I think it's the what was the other uses? Not chiropractor, but the other businesses just south of there. So that's the corner that we're working with right there. So next slide, please. We have a couple Google Earth images of the current conditions today. One thing to point out is that the way that the site's laid out here is not dissimilar to what we're proposing, meaning that there's a drive off of Austin as well as Main Street. So we'll show you that as we move forward. But Our ground floor, which is the amenity space, is pretty much right where the current building is today. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is a architectural site plan. Why don't you go to the next one, please, Mr. Hedges? All right, this is probably a little bit more telling. It's the same information. But the way the driveway is oriented is you can drive in off of Austin to the north, Main Street to the east, and then you can circulate both ways through the site, which is beneath the building. Now, the building doesn't go all the way to the west. That screen is actually easier to see, and maybe on yours it is, but the gray shaded area that you see is where the building is above. Where it's blank or white all the way on the west, that's actually open to the sky. So the parking is partially covered, not all the way covered. On the northwest corner, that's where the transformer is proposed to be. And on the east, that's those colored boxes, that's basically the building. So the orange are common areas, which are not fully programmed. But what was a request that we included in this was an indoor bike room, so people can have secure bike parking and chargers if they have an electric bike. The yellow also represents the stairs, and the number 6 is the refuse. So it is an interior enclosed refuse room with an overhead door, just like what you've seen elsewhere in town, with a chute on the inside. So it gets picked up once a week, totally enclosed otherwise. There was mention about the vision triangles. So at the corner of Austin and Main, you can see how the building's cut back. We do have a slide in here that addresses that. We think that we're actually improving that line of sight, which we'll demonstrate. There's also some issues with the vision triangles as you leave the building going north or out to the east. Again, we have some examples in there of what you can see, and then also one of the recommendations from the Planning Commission was to provide a audio, or not audio, but a visual alarm, not audio, so that we're disturbing neighbors. So we did include that in this packet. Next slide, please. So this is a typical floor for 2 and 3. It's a double loaded corridor. And we have a mix of 1s and 2s. And the corridor goes right down the middle. We have our egress on the north and south. And you can see that the balconies are recessed in. So that was an important feature as we're trying to block any kind of lines of sight to the neighbors to the west. Next slide, please. So the very top floor, we have fewer units. We're calling them penthouses. They're still 2 beds, but they're larger. They have much larger balconies, and we just think that they're going to be a great, amenity for the building, so to speak, and also just great for those who would want to rent there. We do have a rooftop deck, which is number 7, and that faces out to the east, and then there's a small amenity space up on top of the building, and that's accessible to anybody in the building. Next slide, please. So these are some elevations. We have some renderings which show the elevations a little bit better, but the ground floor, which is on the top image, that faces Main Street. The ground floor are the amenities. So it's a lot like Billings Place, where you'll have, maybe some gyms, things like that. So it's activated, so to speak. It's not for the public, but it's for the residents. But it's almost entirely masonry. So the Bianchis this is a long-term hold for these guys. So we're making sure that the materials we put on this building will look good 20, 30 years from now, because they don't want to have to deal with it. They're going to hand it down to their, kids and grandkids. So it's almost all brick. The light beige color that you see is a synthetic wood, so it's a metal, like wood-looking material. And then the very top floor, it's a cementitious panel, a lot like picture Hyatt Place, Icon, those cementitious panels. That building's 10 years old, they still look great. So that's what we're putting on this building so that it's going to look good for a very long time. All the windows are either storefront or they're metal, so there's no vinyl windows on this project. Next slide, please. So this faces the opposite side, that faces the neighborhood. And we have a better image, but we did, after the meeting, as Dennis mentioned, we did add half walls at the balconies. So at one time, it was a balcony that was totally clear. You see how we added half walls to help block any kind of lines of sight out to the neighbors. Next slide, please. There you go. So the yellow represents the only part of like glass that we would propose, which is about 1 foot. So the glass has to be 3'6". We have 2'6" of solid wall, and then 1 foot of glass is what we have, which is shown here. Next slide, please. So the next, I think, 3 slides are showing the vision triangles. So you can see on the corner at Austin and Main, that's the area of concern. And then the driveway as you go north, that's the area of concern. So what we're showing there is that there is a vision triangle that's open, looking out towards the northwest, but you are blocked on the northeast. And then down going out to Main Street, you could see out because we have windows on either side of the drive when you leave, but there will be vehicles there and there's a column. So arguably that would be, a little bit blocked. But if we go to the next slide, okay. So this right here shows the vision triangle at Austin and Main. So the current condition versus what we're gonna have. Even though there's a column on the corner, we still see that it's more visually open. So we actually think that that's a bit of an improvement, what exists today. Next slide, please. That's going out to Main Street. So we do have full windows that are open actually. There's just frames, but you would have vehicles there. So that's where we would have the visual alarm that would warn people. We also have the traffic control arm that was added at the Planning Commission. So as you're leaving, you have to stop and then, it'll then open up so you can't just shoot right out. So it is controlling traffic leaving the building, but you can pull straight in. Next slide, please. And then this goes out to the north. Same thing, traffic control arm. You can see what exists today, which is pretty much wide open versus what we're proposing. Next slide. So these next two slides, this was just a request, was to do a solar study. So we did it at the summer and winter solstice. So at 6 a.m., you can see where the sun is and how it actually does go into the neighborhood a bit. But by noon, I would guess by late morning, noon, because it's summertime, the sun's almost straight up in the sky. It's not impacting anyone. And then once it hits the evening time, those are all businesses to the east. So it's not affecting any residential neighbors that we see there. Next slide. And this is winter, whenever we have sun in Michigan in the winter, but you can see the pattern there. So. And then we have a couple renderings. So you can see the rooftop amenity there, the ground floor amenity space, and then all the, the balconies are set in. Next slide, please. I think we just have a couple of these, and a couple aerials. So that's our presentation. We're here for questions.
Questions for the petitioner? Commissioner Macy.
So, thank you for the presentation, very helpful. So I was trying to follow the line of sight conversation, and so I'm concerned about the Austin and Main, and so it sounded like you were saying you'll have better or good visibility in one direction, but then the other direction you wouldn't. So my question is, if I'm coming out Austin and wanting to turn left on Main, is that going to be possible or not?
If you're coming down Austin,
Coming out of Austin towards Main,
you can turn left.
and I can see.
Yeah, you mean as you're going to Main from Austin?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
well,
what,
that right there would be your line of sight right there.
okay, so what is the thing you were saying that I was not going to be? You said some corner, but I don't know which corner. it
Okay,
is.
sure, yeah. If you go to the next slide, please. Go up to, I think. Was it this one? No, go down, 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 right there. So you see the green building on the left, on the lower left?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you pull up to Austin from the parking lot, you see how you can see to the left and the right? Okay, on the right image, as you pull up, you see how there's the arm that blocks you? The building is right there. That's stopping your vision.
Okay. So that it's coming out from the parking lot onto Austin.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. So that's where we would have the light would blink and the arm would keep you stopped, and then it would pull up, and then you'd have to, go out and watch for pedestrians, or they would be warned by the light.
Okay. I like the additions. I like those safety additions. A lot of middle schoolers going up and down that street.
We heard, yeah.
So
Yeah, we heard, yeah, absolutely.
including mine. So I prefer for them not to get run over.
Yeah, we had the audio too, but the neighbors were rightfully concerned about, hearing a beep, beep. You ever go by Main North Lofts, you hear that beep, beep, and that's what they don't want. So we did the visual. So.
Understood. Thank you.
Commissioner Koloff.
Thank you, and just actually kind of following up on this last question. So I think that arm was hard to see. I kind of see an arm now in this picture. How long does that arm stay down when you pull up to it so that people approaching know that a car is coming and that the car has time to figure out what's happening?
I don't know the exact technical thing, but I think it would be a lot like if you're leaving one of the garages here in town, you pull up, even here, you'd have to probably pop in a ticket, whatever it is, but when you pull up, you're gonna have to trigger it for it to open up.
Okay, you have to trigger it, so it's not like a weighted, it's a sensor doesn't automatically trigger it when you pull on it, like someone has to push like a garage door?
That's
open?
my understanding, but
Okay.
we can put some kind of delay in there, I
Yeah.
think, if you want, yeah. I don't see why
Yeah, I
not,
think
yeah.
a little bit longer delay, as Commissioner Mason was saying, kids are walking down, we all have, a lot of people in this room have kids, we all know how stupid they are and
sure.
irresponsible.
Yeah, I'm not, like.
Except the ones on our student committees and, you know.
I'd like to bring up a past topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the garage arm programmer, but I don't see why we couldn't have something where if you hit it, it's a delay. I don't see why you couldn't have something like that.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down to see if we can.
And I think we talked a little bit about this at planning, is like, what is that best practice, right? Not what the minimum is, but, and even if it means we do something different between, because I think when kids are coming home from middle school in the afternoon, it's not the issue because your line of sight is pretty good right there to to the west. It's in the morning, you know, coming in on that side of the road where there has to be some caution. And one, slowing the driver down with the arm is great, but what else in the light and warning the, you know, pedestrians and all of that. But is there something even between the hours of, you know, 7 and 8? You know what I mean? Is there something there that we can do? Like what, that's a best practice, you know? So I'd look at the equipment and see, and I mean, in the end, you have 24 dwellings.
24, yeah.
And so, you know, half of them, I think it's the one formula we've heard before, you just presume out of the gate, excuse the pun, half of them are going to go to Austin, half of them might go to Main Street.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You know, the ones that go to Austin, probably nobody's going to turn left during middle school time because I've made that mistake, you know, dropping my kids off. You get stuck in a trap and you're like, okay, what do I do? I'm paralyzed now. It's crossing guards and kids. It's like, how do you turn? And so, and then how many are going to go between the hours of 7 and 8 versus 6 and 7 versus, and really, most of the kids are there by what, 7:45, 7.
Yeah,
so
7, 8.
You know, you might get 2 or 3 cars a morning coming out, but it just takes once. So I think the state of the art thinking, it doesn't probably cost a lot, but just, you know, something state of the art customized to that time frame would probably be very critical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Commissioner Hunt?
Continuing with the question about the arm, and thank you for the presentation.
Sure,
And implementing all of the safety features. But the picture that I'm seeing, there's the arm on one side and then it's completely clear on the other side for cars to come in. Is there going to be any divider or something there to keep cars from being someone rushing to work, going in the other lane and just shooting out?
No, I think that's etiquette or just safety. You know what I mean? No, it's right now, I guess we could, but we're worried about people delaying traffic.
The backup
turning
on the
in,
street.
yeah, exactly. That's correct.
Is there anything else that could be, some sort of lane divider or something to keep people from jumping over to that
stripe it,
side?
but it's basically like a two-way drive. You know, so for us to start putting in curbs, it's expanding out and now the parking doesn't work. So
I just
I
hear
see
people
exactly where you're
cheating
going
the
with it.
system and going around just to, you know,
Right.
save that little bit of time.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Caldwell.
You know, I wonder if a solution would be to make the Austin Avenue the entrance and then the Main Street the exit. So that we're not even worried about the sight lines on Austin because cars are only coming in. So now this is just a one-way. And I'm not asking you to make a decision right now, just something to think about as we ponder a solution.
Commissioner Douglas?
Yeah, I don't know that people with houses on Austin would be happy about that. I mean,
It's looking at look at that green building. It's looking at another multifamily complex.
No, I mean.
Looking at a multifamily complex and then a gun, hey, I sold a floor. And a gun store.
I mean, forcing all of the traffic to enter off Austin rather than splitting it between the two entrances and exits, I think that would put pressure on Austin. A street we've already acknowledged can get crowded at, you know, certain times of day.
I think what might be is you're going to have, and I think Commissioner Hunt actually brings up a good point. That's why she's an amazing attorney. She can always find all the different ways that people are going to go about things. I think it'll happen. I mean, but I think it's incumbent upon the landlord to make sure that it's explicit in the lease that, hey, for safety reasons, like if the landlord's willing to volunteer to say, hey, between these hours, it's very important that, you follow this for safety measures, and that I'm sure there's going to be cameras in there, and if somebody is violating that, then, that could be something they build into the lease where it's because I think the last thing the landlord wants is a nuisance claim from the city saying, hey, your folks are, and maybe this is a question for the chief. If somebody exits private property using the wrong lane, like in that particular case, we can't, not even at that tangent when they cross into the public sphere?
No, we can't enforce on private property like that.
Even if they're entering public property from the private property using the wrong lane?
No.
So when I see all those signs, like at a chicken shack that says no right turn only, I'm like, I can do what I want.
Yeah. It's just encouraging good behavior, I think,
Okay.
so we don't want to let everybody know we can't enforce that. So strike that from the record.
No. So can we redact that from the record so we can have civility, especially in Chicken Shack? All right. Commissioner Macy?
So I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm looking at the image up here on Commissioner Hunt's screen, which is, I think, the same one that's on the bottom right there. Could there be a gate on the, like, farther in, maybe where the corner of that curb is, so when you're coming in, you don't get stopped outside, but you do have to, takes you a second to get in, and then it prevents that.
Or that's only activated between the hours of 7 and 8 in the morning?
Like the one down?
There, I suppose we could.
I don't know, just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so.
Commissioner Douglas?
Why not?
Yeah, I think the risks here are very, very small, and I think we're overcomplicating this.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, what I think we could do if it becomes an issue and we see it being a problem, then, if we can get at least it's nothing's writing or imperfect, but, I know that the owners of this development, are longstanding business owners in the community. I know that they care dearly about the safety of their children and other people's children, and that we should have some degree of confidence that if people are abusing that and cheating that system, that one, they're going to deal with those violators appropriately, and number two, that if they have to, they'll put a inexpensive gate in that's only activated between 7 and 8 in the morning during school hours. I would imagine that would be something that the petitioner would be okay with if that becomes a problem.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay, we got a verbal confirmation, but not a legal confirmation. Okay. Commissioner Herzog.
I have a question, but it's not about parking.
Okay.
Driving out of the parking lot. You spoke about the refuse area. Is that just for trash, or will you have other materials management, like recycling?
There's also recycling, which may be stored in there, but on each floor in our refuse room, there's going to be recycling on every floor. Management's going to be responsible for taking that and handling it. So that's their plan that they fashion. A lot of times these days, what folks do is our managers, they'll have a company that comes in and kind of takes care of it for them. Like they literally come in, handle the trash, the recycling, everything. It's just, then they take it out. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right. Oh, Commissioner Colo.
Thank you. I did notice on one of you guys have a couple big empty walls, which are, I think just ripe for some public art. Would you all consider maybe adding, I'm looking at this, this the south elevation here. There's a lot of examples of public art around town. We have the Cool Abe down at the VFW Hall. Hotel WROK has a pretty cool installation. Would you all consider maybe adding some art to add a public benefit there?
Right. So since the meeting occurred and we've had a chance to discuss the Planning Commission meeting, that is, we've had a chance to talk about that, and we've seen some examples we think would fit nicely. Probably one of them is on the Hotel Royal Oak. There's a mural. We're not going to say we can cover the whole the whole building, but something that could activate maybe near or at street level that we could mutually agree upon. I think we've had that kind of situation before on some projects I've worked on, so I can commit on behalf of the team. I think that actually would be a nice a nice thing. You know, I talked about how the DIA, we have several of their pieces that they will allow to be put on the walls down in the city, and we think that would be a nice addition. So we would commit to that in the PUD agreement, that we would do that. At some point, you know, within so many months after the building's up and operational, we'll come to an agreement and find something that looks great and will complement the building and the neighborhood and the other businesses.
Yeah, and something maybe inspirational for all the middle school kids walking by too. That might be kind of cool too.
Well, we're going to try.
Like some quotes from Dennis Cowan, former mayor.
I don't
Royal
think
maybe.
anybody's interested in anything I have to say, but I will tell you also that with the neighbors, that is, you probably already know this, and we've been hearing this for a long time, but the whole traffic situation with the school drop off and pick up, and I've been by there. It's interesting. It's challenging, and it's just the way it is a little bit there. But the good news is with this building change, that will reduce the traffic from at least this one building. So that'll be helpful.
Yeah, in the afternoon, definitely.
Again, I just want to reiterate, we'll make that commitment in the PUD agreement for public art.
Because I don't think I've driven by Bianchi's salon and haven't seen just dozens of cars there. I mean, it's full. They do a great book of business. Very successful.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, we're good. Okay, so we have a decision to make up here. Commissioner Colo.
I move approval on first reading with the addition of adding public art to the final PUD agreement. And yeah.
All right. Got a motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Douglas. Discussion? I'll just add, beautiful building. I think this is, you know, a really good story where we have a longstanding successful business owner relocating their business downtown and using the property that they have to redevelop into something the community actually needs. We need housing. I mean, the country needs housing, and you know, it takes us in every city, every community, every mayor in every city, and every council and commissioner member in every city to encourage, approve, and find pathways to solve this crisis. And I mean, just some high-level statistics that are out there that are pretty shocking. Since 2019, wages have gone up by like 20%, but rents have gone up by over 30%. So it's becoming less and less affordable. People are getting poorer just trying to put a roof over their head. And if you look at the average rent in Royal Oak, you know, to live like reasonably, where you're not living paycheck to paycheck, the starting salary for a elementary school teacher in the Royal Oak School District would not cover the average rent in Royal Oak to live, and so to live comfortably. So you know, we need more housing options. The more supply we have mitigates rent and allows, you know, anybody who can't afford a $400,000 bungalow to still call Royal Oak home if they grew up here. Or if it's time for them to sell their house and they need to downsize, there's a place for them in the community that they raise their family in. And so this is a beautiful building that I think is in the right spot, just it was like 5 blocks or 1,000 feet or something like that from the CBD. We have Hollywood Market that just put a ton of money into their facility, upgrading their grocery store. So it's just right, I mean, in a great spot. And I think it's going to be a great project for our community. And I'm grateful for the petitioners for the. It's not easy to do something from scratch. It's definitely more complicated to move your business and do all this and do all the gears, getting them all aligned to make something like this happen. So, you know, thank you for that. All right. Anybody else? Commissioner Herzog.
I just wanted to second what you were saying. I think that this project is really great for the 10-minute walkability. It has a grocery store, a dental office, a dermatology, a hardware store, lots of restaurants. There's a lot of amenities in this area, and so this is a perfect location for multifamily. And so that helps us get to those sustainability goals that we're trying to achieve in the city as well. And also having the Bianchi family invest in our city so much. It's great to see the investment in our city. So I just want to second the things that you were saying. today, and I'm in support of this.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, we got a motion on the table. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. The project is approved on first reading, and this will come to second reading, and because it was unanimously approved, it will come to consent and second reading, right? Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, petitioners.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. And I do want to say one thing. We always thank the planning department and planning division. And I want to say the last time I did an agreement that Doug put together on a project, I did not make one change. So he's got it down pat. He takes good notes. Everything's in there and it's written just like a lawyer. Thank you, Doug. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Hedges, rocking it. Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck. Merry Christmas. All right. Before we adjourn, I'd like to just give a few moments for our unsung hero over the last number of months. Mr. Wallenweber came to us as a gift way ahead of the holiday season. And he's come into the role and he's fit and he's felt like family here over the last number of months, and has really hit the ground running with his experience and kept a lot of things afloat. And pushed a lot of things forward, and I'd like to give him a few moments here to reflect on his time and here in the city of Royal Oak.
Well, thank you. Since this is my last meeting and my interim time is over on the 2nd of January next year, although that's pretty quick, I want to first of all say thanks to the mayor and commission for selecting me to fill in, and for almost all of the Royal Oak staff for making my time here productive, along with the many board members that I met, and so many of the positive residents that have stopped up to say hello and things like that. I want to say there's so many positive things going on in Royal Oak, many more to be announced in the future. This project is a good example of them. But, you know, things like the clean audit, the application for the MGFOA award, for which I think is, 27th years or something like that, that we've got that for our budget document. Been able to fill some of the positions that were open when I came to finance director, the IT director, the recreation superintendent. And really one of the things I think that helps for the new person, for Joe coming in, is we've been able to lock in the police chief and the 2 deputies so they'll be here for some period of time, along with the fire chief. There's some other full-time positions, and you know, I think it's also a good thing that changes that the commission have made in the past through contract negotiations. We're pretty much full in the police department. We're close to being full shortly with the fire department, and Chief Cook mentioned to me this is the first time in his long tenure with the city, but in a number of years that we've been close to having filled all the positions in the fire department as well. I haven't visited the dog yet, the petting dog, Raider, but I will do that. And really one of the neat things that the police have, and it was, you know, a great idea to have the joint response program with the social workers and 3 other neighboring communities, really a first in this area, and really nice that the county had seen the value and participated in that as well. I think one of the things, it was working with the commission in a successful manager search, and Joe will be starting on the 6th, I think is a good achievement. Hamer Park, the sculpture, Lockman Park opening with their ninja course, which I don't think, I'm probably too old and probably couldn't complete it properly. A 2-year extension of the golf course. The affordable housing project, and working with Jane Marie, we're still kicking around how we do a pilot for them, and I hope that project moves forward. But you know, I think there's lots of things to be proud of here in Royal Oak, and so many positive things. There's a number of which still in the works. But I hope that I've helped set the stage for Joe when he comes to take over. And I always say this, I hope I haven't broken too many things that he's going to have to fix right away. And with that, I want to thank again each of you, wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, those that celebrate Hanukkah as well. And that's all I have to say.
Well, Mark, I got to say, in my very short tenure in the city of Royal Oak, I've got to serve with a number of city managers, and right from the get-go, it was such a treat to have you because there's never a problem. You call up Mark and you say, hey, I got a problem. And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, you know, these are a couple different ways we can go about this. Let me make a few calls. I know this person. We'll take care of this issue. And lo and behold, a day later, an hour later, whatever it may be, he's like, all right, so we got everybody lined up. I think we have a solution. All's good. And that sort of positive mentality that there's always a way, there's always a path, I think in part comes a little bit with your experience, but I think just getting to know you over these number of months, I think that comes with just, you know, how you're wired, the life you live, and the general approach you have to public service, which is, you know, figure it out and get it done because we're working for people that we care about. And Mark, it really has been a privilege to serve with you. Can't thank you enough for everything that you brought to the table. All of, not just the work, but the wisdom, the coaching, and the certainly the experience and know-how has forever shaped and changed Royal Oak in a very positive way. And so we can't underscore interim is not an appropriate, it's almost this like, I don't even like saying it when I talk about Mark. But it really doesn't do justice to what you've accomplished and helped accomplish with the team here, the staff here, and with the commission here. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think Commissioner Herzog is wanting to do the motion to adjourn, because I can tell based on her headgear.
Jingle bells. Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Douglas. All right. In the most festive way possible, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Oh, oh.
All of those opposed say ho ho no. All right, nobody's opposed. All right, we're adjourned.
All right.
I gotta figure out how to shut this off.